U.S. President Donald Trump responded by saying that the U.S. will handle it, but he hasn't elaborated as to how the U.S. will handle the mounting North Korean crisis. Looking to China has been the cornerstone of President Trump's policy in terms of dealing with North Korea, but it now seems that China and the U.S. are farther apart than ever when it comes to working together to put an end to this growing crisis. U.S. officials, including the president himself, has said that China has failed to use its leverage, its economic leverage in the region, to rein in North Korea, to try and put an end to its nuclear program. At the same time, Beijing is now pushing back against Washington, D.C. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs saying that China didn't create this problem with regard to North Korea. And now China's ambassador to the UN calling on both Pyongyang and D.C. to work to lower the tension on the region. Yes, they have condemned Pyongyang for the launch of another ICBM, but they say that rhetoric from D.C. isn't helping the matter either, specifically pointing to this often repeated phrase that all options are on the table. That's something that President Donald Trump has said, that the Vice President has said, that the U.S.'s ambassador to the UN has said, and that the Secretary of State has also said.
Meantime, the time for talk is over. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley sending a clear message to North Korea following the rogue regime's latest nuclear test. China and Russia also putting their own military might on display, looking to catch Washington's attention.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson sent a clear message to North Korea on Tuesday, saying the United States wants to talk. The United States will test an intercontinental ballistic missile less than a day after that announcement. North Korea conducted its own successful missile launch on Friday night. That missile landed in the Sea of Japan, close to where an Air France passenger plane had flown minutes earlier. Experts believe it had the range to hit major cities in the U.S. In response to the launch, the U.S. flew strategic bombers over the Korean peninsula, and President Trump expressed disappointment in China. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson addressed the issue at the State Department on Tuesday. Let's take a listen to some of that.
We have reaffirmed our position towards North Korea, that what we are doing, we do not seek a regime change. We do not seek the collapse of the regime. We do not seek an accelerated reunification of the peninsula. We do not seek an excuse to send our military north of the 38th parallel. And we're trying to convey to the North Koreans, we are not your enemy. We're not your threat, but you are presenting an unacceptable threat to us.
All right, so Secretary Tillerson trying to make it clear there, the U.S. does not seek an excuse to use military action against the North. But now, does the U.S. have that excuse? If not, under what circumstances could there be a justification?
Well, I think Tillerson was drawing a distinction between military regime change and other possible options. Many experts think one of the only things that might trigger North Korea to use nuclear weapons is if it believes its regime was at risk, if the United States was going to invade and overthrow it. So I think Tillerson was trying to reassure them on that front. But serious experts in Washington now are talking about other possible options of using our missile defenses to intercept the next North Korean missile test. And some are even talking about conducting strikes in North Korea on the next North Korean tests. If North Korea actually attacked the United States or its allies, I think there should be little doubt that the United States would have an overwhelming and effective military response.
Well, what would be the risks for an attack on the North?
Well, North Korea has one of the more capable militaries on Earth. We think that they have nuclear weapons, possibly already capable of reaching U.S. allies and bases in the region. They have large amounts of artillery on the border that would be capable of holding at risk Seoul and U.S. forces there, the major city of a U.S. ally. And they have a large standing army, so a major war with North Korea could be the largest war the United States has been in since the last Korean War 60 years ago.
The war of words between the US and North Korea is generating plenty of headlines amid growing fears it could erupt into a real confrontation. And even Trump's military advisor is ringing the alarm.
I think we're not closer to war than a week ago, but we are closer to war than we were a decade ago. And this has been a problem that we've procrastinated on for a long period of time. And now it's coming to a head where the threat from North Korea, not only to the United States, but to the world, is very, very clear.
And it seems many people have taken the bait. Google searches in the US for how to survive a nuclear attack are outtrending classics like how to get rich and how to be happy. And the media is certainly helping to stir things up.
People begin weighing their disaster plans.
Nuclear warhead, it could land in Hawaii in 20 minutes.
This is an existential threat to the United States.
Additional information on radiation from a potential nuclear blast.
So where does that leave us now? Well, only a few days into Trump's verbal spat with Kim Jong-un, a survey showed almost 80% of Americans believe North Korea is capable of launching a missile that could hit the U.S. And that's despite many experts saying Pyongyang's weapons are not sophisticated enough to achieve that. RT's Daniel Hawkins has been taking a look at who actually benefits from all this scaremongering.
The higher the tension, the hotter the rhetoric. We've certainly had no shortage of that in recent days. But who stands to gain from this war of words? Well, Donald Trump, for one. The US president has kept busy sounding military drums against North Korea.
They will be met with fire and fury. It's not a dare, it's a statement. Maybe it wasn't tough enough.
And it's tough talk like this that brought him newly found popularity. According to one poll, Trump's approval ratings jumped to 45% on the back of those comments. Next on the list, the North Korean army. Pyongyang claims a whopping 3.5 million volunteers have signed up for the country's military, all because of the recent escalation. If true, definitely a win for Kim Jong-un and his army recruiters. Now moving on to Guam, the US territory located closest to North Korea. People there have already received guidelines on what to do when they see a mushroom cloud. But there's an unexpected cause for celebration, because apparently all the hype will actually do the island good.
You're going to be taken care of. You become, Eddie, I have to tell you, you become extremely famous all over the world. talking about Guam, and they're talking about you, and I think you're going to get tourism. I can say this, your tourism, you're going to go up in like 10-fold.
And where there's war, or even the talk of one, there's always big money. And this time, it's 10 points for the bunker business. Sales are apparently going through the roof on the wave of apocalypse hysteria.
Now, with military tensions running high, bomb shelters are, alas, making a comeback.
Clyde Scott helps people who are really rich and really freaked out. His clientele has changed from people afraid Obama would take their property to those afraid Trump will start a nuclear war.
All this drama with North Korea, it's paying off in a big way for this company. Take a look at what they are selling here. These are massive bomb shelters.
And one such company is even inviting people to form an entire survival community. If all that nuclear Armageddon talk has you scared for your life, you can move to one of these bunkers scattered around a whopping 20 square kilometers in South Dakota. Yet another firm says they're completely sold out.
Our inventory did sell out, but we have the capacity to manufacture at least 1,000 shelters a year and supply many countries around the world.